スタジオ3万
I'll intro because I feel like I'm not going to get to say much else if I don't.
You think I'm literally going to talk for an hour about the
Shenmue anime.
about the Shenmue anime?
Yeah.
It only goes on for like a minute and a half. There's about 15 minutes of
but
chat.
You're going to talk frame by frame, aren't you?
I wasn't planning on it, but
Okay. Right, here we go. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Nerd OD podcast with your gracious hosts Dan
and Reg.
And how's it hanging, Reg?
It is hanging a little bit to the left.
Is that a comment on your political alignment, or is that a comment on your curtains or your fringe? No, you don't really have a fringe, do you?
I don't have a fringe.
No, I can't think what else.
I'm not in the 90s anymore, so
fair enough.
That went.
Do you remember curtains?
Yeah, I never had the hair to do it.
No. Which one had that? Was it PJ? Was it Duncan? I can't remember.
Is PJ on Blind Pet?
Yeah.
It's PJ. No. It was Deck.
Duncan.
Deck.
Was PJ the blind one?
Yeah.
Okay.
PJ was
Yeah.
the blind
So
one.
Deck.
So it's
okay.
Deck. What an awesome start to the podcast.
Of course, always.
I've noticed the past couple of podcasts we've referenced Ant and Deck at the beginning of the pod, and I don't know why.
Several times, and a few weeks ago we talked about how Biker Grove ended, how it was weird, how there were dinosaurs and aliens and all sorts of stuff.
We did indeed.
Yeah. It's like they let Chris Nolan direct an episode of Biker Grove, and he brought in all this weird time travel dinosaur alien, like the Grove disappearing into nothingness. Exciting. Although it couldn't have been Chris Nolan because it didn't have Cillian Murphy in it.
That is very true. He does like to come into it.
He does.
Every single goddamn film.
I mean, you say that's a bad thing. He's fairly. I've never watched Peaky Blinders, but he was good as Scarecrow, and some other things.
He's all right in Peaky Blinders, to be fair.
Right.
To be fair, we give up on season 2 or 3. I think it was. So yeah, we managed to get quite a lot of the way through it, and it was just one of those that something else came on when it happened. So we're like, oh. And we just jumped over to watch whatever else it was that I can't remember.
And never got back to it.
We never went back to it, but I'm really not that arsed either at the same time. I think it was one of those, the same as we went back to watch Sons of Anarchy, because we never watched that before. And I think they were great when they came out.
Okay. Yeah, but difficult to watch now.
Difficult to watch now.
Well, I was just going to ask you, have you any idea what Peaky Blinders means? But I just googled it, and it's quite horrible.
Yeah, so they keep razor blades in the peak of their caps.
Yeah, and then just sort of Anyway, lovely.
It's gorgeous,
yeah,
mate.
I'll never get my other half to watch that show.
No, that's probably the least of her concerns. To be fair, innit? To be fair, actually, it's not as grim as what I anticipated. It's like nowhere near as bad as what you think it's going to be in terms of that. It's more about just them as like the gang and their life more than it is like, any grim things that they do as the gang.
All right.
Like
it's like The Sopranos, basically.
Yeah, very simple.
It wasn't all bad.
No, there's a lot that happens like off cam that's like the really gritty, grim stuff. So you don't get to see it, but you know it's happening.
Nice.
So, yeah. Although, speaking of stuff that is pretty grim, on a different sort of grimness, we just finished watching season 3 of Brassic on Sky. So this is one of those shows that I think me and you had the conversation ages ago where you were like, Sky don't do anything great, like any great originals.
No, and you can always tell if it's a Sky original because when they do season 2 and season 3, they don't just go, it's season 2 of this show. They go, it's Brassic 3. Or they give the season a subtitle to be like, this is like a movie, it's like a sequel. No, it's not, it's just the second season. Just call it what it is. Because every advert I see, it's Brassic 3. And same with anything else they ever do.
Yeah, but Brassic is one of those shows that's like we came onto it and we heard it's supposed to be a really funny comedy, and we're like, you know what? There's so much other stuff we want to watch. At some point, we'll get around to watching it. And then my brother was just like, "No, mate, drop whatever you're watching. It's your humour. Like,
So
just watch it."
So you dropped Peaky Blinders.
So
and moved
I
over
was
to
like,
Brassic.
so I was holding Oliver, and I was like, right, and dropped Oliver, and I was like, time for me to watch some Brassic. Oliver was a bit upset. Ash was mortified, and I was like, my brother told me to do it.
Yeah, and then she watched Brassic, and we're like, all right, it's pretty good. I understand now.
It's probably right up there with my favourite comedies.
Oh wow!
Ever. It is so good. Like it, and it is my humour. Like, so if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know my humour is either A, stupid, like just pointless humour. I find
Mighty
ridiculously
funny. Garth Marenghi, the like of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the mix of the both in this. And it's great, and it's basically just about a little, like in a little rural town. There's a little group of thieves, like professional thieves, that go about their business, and stuff always goes wrong for them, and that's what makes it funny. But every single character is likable. There's not one character where you're like, oh god, not him again. But it hit the really seriously cringe levels of oh Jesus. Where we're like, I hope no one's walking past and watching this right now, because in one of the episodes of season 3, one of the farmers turns to like the professional thieves, and there's a Hollywood bull, there's like a film star bull, that this family own, and I want it. I want the semen from this bull because it's worth like thousands. Like each little vial is worth like thousands and thousands, and they're like, yeah, we'll get this bull. So they have to come up with a plan of like how to arouse the bull and come through, and like one of the guys is like, just bring all my dildos, and then they end up just doing like some really grim stuff to this bull, but then they end up, you see them, they like basically taking it in turns to try and ejaculate the bull. And we were watching it at like, 6 o'clock in the evening, empty. And just people are walking past, and you can just see the dude's just like proper going for it on this bull. And then the magic, the money shot happens, and you've all got little like Tupperware boxes to trying to catch it in and stuff. But it's done perfectly. Okay. And like, there's so many bits of this where I was genuinely crying because I was laughing that much at it, and I was just like, you know what, it's perfect. But the downside is we binged it all in like 2 days, like all 8 or 9 episodes, and now it's gone again for God knows how long, and I'm like, god damn it, because it's always like a couple of years in between each season. So I'm hoping that the next one comes along very soon, because I was very happy with that, to be fair.
Yeah, it's got the guy who played Cassidy in Preacher. He's the main guy.
It has, and Michelle Keegan's like his flingy thing.
Okay,
that's in it as well. So, but it's genuinely really funny. If you haven't given it a shot, just 100% give it a watch. I
don't know whether I can get past that Sky Originals moniker, but I'll see. Maybe. I've got nothing else to watch today, so maybe I'll give it a go.
It is worth your while. I know that's saying so. Now we've just about to start watching from episode 2 onwards of Why the Last Man, because we finished Midnight Mass. I don't know if we talked about that.
No.
On this. So everyone's been raving on about how amazing Midnight Mass was. And it's a very slow burn. So Midnight Mass is the guy, Mike Flanagan, who did Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Blind Manor, and like Gerald's Game and stuff like that. And everyone's been saying this is the best one that he's ever done. So going into it, I'm like, this is going to be better than Haunting of Hill House, which is one of my favourite like horror shows. I think it was done very well, and it had every single sort of level of creepiness you needed in a show. It was phenomenal. So I was going in like, this is going to be like incredible. And the first 3 episodes, nothing happens. It's very preachy, obviously with the title of the show, Midnight Mass. It's all about a priest who comes into this, again, there's like an island with like 128 people that live on it or something. and he comes in to replace a priest who's gone on his like journey over to like the religious home to go and basically live out his sort of days. He comes in to replace him, and stuff happens. Because I don't know, it's been out for a while, but I don't want to ruin it for people that are still probably trying to get through it. But yeah, it's like the end of episode 4 where something finally goes, oh look, there's a reason for this, and you're like, oh, okay. And then it just becomes really predictable. Like when you know what the twist is, like what happens, you're like, oh right, okay, so this is this, and you can literally just sort of peg it all out as it's going through, so you know how it plays out. And it was good. It was really good, but it was just a massive letdown, considering I was thinking it was going to be the best thing that Mike Flanagan's ever done. It was just, it wasn't, there was no horror to it. It just had a couple of bit of like, ooh, moments, but nothing like terrifying or will stick with you. Like in The Haunting of Hill House, there's always that scene that you'll see. Did you ever watch Haunting of Hill House?
No, I'm not into any of that sort of stuff.
Right. Okay. There's a scene where they're in basically a funeral parlor where the sister's in a casket, and as they're talking, you can just see the ghost of the sister behind him with like a broken neck, just standing watching over him, and then it sort of disappears again. And it just very reminiscent of Project Zero, but it made me just go, oh, fuck. And for ages, that image stuck with me. And I was like, that's a very well done. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But there's everything about that show I adored. So going into that and then finishing Midnight Mass, I was like, there's nothing that stuck with me. It was just like it was all right. Definitely wasn't like the critics 9 and 10 out of 10s and like all this sort of stuff. It was all right. There was like 2 decent characters, and that was about the lot from it, to be fair.
It's a shame.
So we binged that. What else? Been watching loads, to be fair, and we're trying to get through everything, but I was like, right, can we finally get back to Why the Last Man? And she was like, yeah, do you just want to finish off Brassic? And I was like, yes, I do. So we watched Brassic, and then I was like, right, okay, now we've had the comedy after the horror, let's go and watch some like post-apocalyptic stuff now. So now we're going to watch Why the Last Man tonight.
I've still not started it, only because I sort of had other things I was just wanted to get through before I move on to it. I haven't even watched the new season of Walking Dead, to be honest. So I've got a lot to catch up on. But that is next.
Yeah, I was toying with the idea of going back into it because I watched all the way up until the mid-season break of season 10.
Okay, so you do remember where you got to, at least.
Yeah, and then just stopped because I lost all interest in it. But now, no, this is the final.
Yeah. Well, it's part 1 of the final. Well, no, it's... Yeah, so we're at the mid-season break already. But from what I understand... the first
part,
exactly,
isn't it? Like 2...
Yeah, so it's going to be over... it's like 2 seasons, but they're just calling it 1 for some strange reason. I don't quite understand. But the bit that put me off... like. I know a lot of people, when they talk about The Walking Dead, they're like, yeah, I watched it up to season whatever. You know, people do seem to have a switching off point. A lot of people haven't just gone, I need to just stick with it because I want to see how it ends. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to get through it all. But, you know, when they came back for, was it 4 or 5 episodes at the beginning of this year? I watching those, they were... I mean, there was no point to them. There was absolutely 0 point to them. The only remotely decent one was showing Negan's backstory and why he sort of, you know, how he got Lucille, the bat, and things like that. And that was kind of useful to see that. But the rest was just so pointless. It was like, let's just see what Maggie's been up to. Oh, let's have a look what these characters are doing. And none of them had any bearing, really, on the actual overall outcome of the show, other than maybe it like, okay, this is how they got from A to B, but nothing that happened in the middle mattered. So it was a real chore to get through it. And I think I will watch it, but I think that sort of put me off sort of jumping back into it. I wasn't excited when it came back. But
it was like
we'll
one of the guys that I work with, my boss that I work with. He got into Walking Dead like literally as season 10 was starting.
Okay.
Because they never really give it a chance at all. But finally, one of the girls that his wife works with, like, you need to watch it. Honestly, it's amazing. You'd love it.
Yeah.
And she was like, fine, we'll give it a watch. And he came in like after his holiday. He had like a week away in Centre Parks or something. He came back in. He was like, oh yeah, so we're on like season 3 of Walking Dead. And I was
Good
like,
way to spend your time at Centre Parks.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, so you started it? And he was like, yeah, it's amazing. But by which point he was like, oh, I love this character. I'm like, is that one still in it? You know, it's been that long since I've like seen it from the start. I can't remember who goes at which bit and does what and what. And he got all the way up until, I think, episode 4 of season 11. And they're just like, yeah, we've hit our break point now. And I was like,
Wow.
You're on the last season? And he's like,
Yeah.
No, it's like, it's just not fun anymore. It's just really repetitive and boring.
Was it
now.
ever fun? That's not how I would describe it. But do you know what? I tried watching Fear the Walking Dead, and it was about a couple of years ago. I think I got through. I had Amazon Prime briefly because I did a Prime trial, so I could get Christmas presents. So I had it for a month, and I like binged Preacher and a bunch of other stuff, and I was like, okay, well, I've got a few days left. Let's start watching Fear the Walking Dead. And I watched the first season, and it was pretty good because it's a whole different take on it. It shows the beginning of the of the fall of society. People don't know what's going on. You know, the zombies or walkers or whatnot start to appear, and like throughout the first season, it sort of starts to descend, and it's only set over maybe the course of a couple of months. So it is still, we don't quite know what's going on. The military are trying to control things, but not doing a very good job. And then as you go through that season, and then season 2 and season 3. It's mainly about this one group of survivors, so a couple of families that sort of blend together, and they're trying to get to Mexico, and because they think there's like a safe place there they can stay. But by the end of season 3, it then does a time skip, and that time skip is about, I mean, I can't remember exactly, maybe 3-4 years. I mean, it's enough years to, spoiler, give what's the Morgan from the main Walking Dead series,
Morgan.
Yeah, to give him enough time to be to sort of be, whenever he left that season, the main Walking Dead, before he came back, it's about what he did in between. So in fact, it must be more than 3 or 4 years. It must be like 6 or 7 years. I'm not sure, but there's a big time jump. And it's the same as it's sort of it. The good thing about it was how it was focusing on the beginning, and now suddenly it jumped onwards. Yeah. It's like, well, it's just the same program now. It's just like, oh, let's just put a group of survivors together and see what happened there. And do you remember when there was a time skip in the proper Walking Dead? I think between maybe seasons 8 and 9, and it was a good 3 years. It was right after Rick disappeared, if I remember right. Sorry, spoiler. Anyway,
that's years old now.
Yeah, exactly.
Years old now.
Yeah. Yeah, there was that time skip, and the thing that bugged me was throughout all the seasons, you know, loads of people ended up dying. The group that were together by the end of that at that point were not the same as were at the beginning, because so many things had gone wrong, and then suddenly in this 3-year period, nothing must have happened. No one got in any danger because no one else was dead. It was just like, yeah, we've been living peacefully for 3 years. Like, what?
Yeah. Why the cameras are back, right? Now
yeah,
it's just
okay,
now.
Now everyone starts dying. And this was the same. All the characters are still there. Like, they've had this miserable sort of 6 to 9 months where they've tried to get to Mexico and that all went wrong, and then there's just you know, and then suddenly, oh, let's skip 5 or 6 years. Yeah, we're all good. We've set up a farm in a American football stadium. Like, all right, yeah, cool, great.
As you do.
The only thing that I'm kind of intrigued with is, apparently, again, this is spoilers. If you're watching Fear the Walking Dead, or you're going to skip this, you don't care, do you, Reg? Right?
I do not care.
No. Okay, so the next 30 seconds. So apparently, at the end of the current season, or I think the new one might have started now. Some government thing. They set off a load of nukes to try and blow up whatever's going on, with all the zombies at that time. So a big chunk of the country is, impassable. It's completely unusable, and so the people in Walking Dead main timeline don't know about this because they're on the other side of the country. But the other lot, the Fear of the Walking Dead people, are sort of down south, like Texas way, and it's around there. So that apparently is like the next set of the story. It's about how they deal with that. Because at the end of the day, the nukes probably don't kill all the zombies. They just burn them to a crisp, but they're still going. So I don't know. And then there's the other one, what's the World Beyond, which has just come back. Yeah, it was weird. So from the only reason I'm sticking with that one is because I've heard that it's 2 seasons and that's it, and that was always the plan. It's not, here's another series. I think it's only about 6 or 8 episodes per season, but it's got its solid, concise story that is going to be these 12 to 14 episodes or whatever it is.
But apart from money, what is the point in it?
Yeah, I mean, it is, again, it's a completely different story in terms of like this is much later on in the outbreak, so it has got a few extra little things that you might, if you're into The Walking Dead, you might like. And reading the comics, it's good. It's cool to see another side of things, and like the some of the other groups that form and whatnot, and they're the ones that are probably going to be coming into these TV movies they're doing with Rick. So it's all it's intentional. It's all tying in, and but the thing is, the comics for me never slowed down. Like I can see where they're up to now in the main Walking Dead TV show timeline, and they just seem to be, like you say, it's just a lot of people are starting to lose interest in it. There's something that's just not clicking at the moment, but I don't know why, because the comics, even right the way to the end, just had a really nice flow to it. Like, it never got boring, and even the sort of the ending I thought was great. One of the best, most sort of concise but not all like sunshine and roses ending that you could have. So I'm curious. That's the only thing I'm curious about, is how they're going to handle that, whether they're going to do the same or not. But
that's the thing, isn't it? With it being having so many other spin-offs that are coming out, and the other shows that are coming through, and the TV movies and stuff, and that it doesn't really have an end. So it's going to carry on still. So it's like, is it what's going to happen? They're all just going to decide, you know what? That's enough for us.
It's all down to when. Down. So obviously this main series is going to end, and whether we'll see the comics shows another right at the end, another huge time skip, and so there's an awful lot of scope for them to show what happens in between then, and how things end up how they do in the comics. So I get the point that there's a lot more stories they can tell, that it can have an ending, but it doesn't all have to be just concurrent. It's not like Star Trek, for example, where you've got like 3 series all happening around the same time, and they're all, they can all cross over because they're happening at identical times in the universe or whatever. So it's, I agree. People don't really want that many shows now. I think that time has passed. I don't know why they waited however long they did, 8-9 years, before they started looking at really spinning these things off.
Well, we were talking about the new Game of Thrones prequel series, the House of Dragons, or whatever it's called, the prequel series.
Yeah.
We're talking about that in work now, because they've just started showing like the teaser trailers and stuff for it.
Yeah.
And apart from like the really die-hard fans that have read the books, like I was chatting to one of the lads in work who's like obsessed with the books, he enjoyed the show, but like the books for him were the thing. And he was like, you know what? The books are great history books for like Westeros and stuff, but I can't see, unless they did it alongside the actual TV show, I can't see people being interested now. And I'm like, you know what? You've nailed it. It's been years since Game of Thrones was out. The only thing people still remember is like how shitty the ending was for it.
But I feel like that's what it has in its favor. It's been so long that people have kind of forgotten. Like I can't remember where I read it or heard it, but Game of Thrones merchandise like was everywhere and everyone was buying it, And then as soon as the final season happened and the final couple of episodes, it dropped off a cliff. People just stopped buying anything to do with Game of Thrones because they were so angry and incensed, and it was just like, wow, okay, that just went from my favourite show to, well, let's not talk about it. But it's, I think it's been long enough now that they can kind of go back and almost redeem themselves. I'm not saying they're going to, but I think this is a chance for it to happen. At least it is a completely original take on that, you know. I'm not even sure. I don't think the guys from who produced and wrote the Game of Thrones show are involved in this other than like exec producers, right? So, because that's what everyone says is the problem. It was them. It was, look, yeah, you were great at adapting the story, but as soon as you had to take it over and do it yourself because there were no more books left, that's when it went downhill. So maybe HBO are clever and they've gone, all right, let's try and get some decent writers from the get-go on this. Who knows? But I just a quick thing to wrap this up. But I was looking now at Walking Dead and what the ratings are at. So the latest season averages about 2 million viewers. Whereas, I mean, I'm just flicking through the seasons. I'm up to season 3 here on the ratings, and it was getting 10 to 12 million per episode. So, wow. I mean, that just shows something that's dropped off a cliff. And like saying back then, in fact, wow, 16 million people for season 4. Yeah, they missed the chance, didn't they, really? 17, 15, yeah, blimey. So yeah, at its peak, it was getting 17 to 18 million viewers. Wow. Yeah, and there we go, season 6, that's when it started to creep downwards. But still, 2 million. I mean, that's a huge difference.
I was going to say, that's a hell of a drop, that, isn't it?
Yeah. Any other show probably would have been, if it had that. I mean, what's that? That's a 90% nearly. 85% drop in ratings. Any other show, if you saw the ratings drop that much, they would have just cancelled it. But 2 million for a cable network, like a premium cable network, still pretty good. It's just 18 million was unheard of.
Yeah,
there are blooming Twitch streamers that get more views than that.
Yeah, sad but true.
Mm-hmm.
Mental.
Anyway, I think we've put off the two things you want to talk about long enough, have we not, Reg?
That is very, very true.
Okay.
So, let's kick it off with, I finally bought myself a gamepad for my laptop.
All right, okay.
I was torn between what I want to do, because I was playing Control, wasn't I? With saying I started it, and I'm awful with keyboard and mouse when it comes to shooting games. I know it's probably the best way and the natural way to do it, but I can't at all. For some reason, my brain just goes nope with the mouse, and I just can't do it. But with the controller, sound. So I went, had a day off, and I went to a shop and I bought the Xbox One, because I was like, what do I really want to do? And I was like, do I want to get myself, like, because I'm going to get a console at some point, but is it going to be a Series X or is it going to be a PS5? Okay. And I was like, because what I can do now is buy the second pad for that now, and use that on my my laptop. And then I was having a look around, and I found a deal where you could get 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate with the Microsoft pad, with the official Xbox pad. So I was like, you know what? Really want to try out a few of the games. Like, I've been dying to play a Forza Horizon since its like release. I've never had a console that can do it, and I've been dying to play it. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do this. So I bought myself the Xbox pad, got the Gamepad Ultimate thing, stupidly fucking got excited. I was like, oh, I'll activate it now and have a quick look through and see what's on there. While obviously got Control as well. And I was, as we were from last week's conversation, I got heavily involved in Control and was loving it. I've now completed Control, and it is fucking unreal. Great, one of my favorite gaming set pieces of all time ever is the Ashtray Maze. Okay. The Ashtray Maze,
absolutely,
in Control is phenomenal. It is
with the soundtrack, especially.
Yes, 100%. And like the janitor is one of my favorite fucking characters in anything ever. I love him so much. So I've done that. I've done the Foundation DLC.
Okay, you got the DLC then.
Because I was like, you know what, I loved it, and it was on sale. You could get
Right.
both for like $7.99 or something like that on Epic Game Store. And
Was
I thought,
the-
seeing as I've only got the standard one,
Foundation. So that's not the Alan Wake one, is it?
no, it's the one where
No.
it's like in the cavern, in
Yeah.
the cave thing.
So yeah, the Foundation one I really, really liked.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah,
Really
Those are
good.
good.
So I've
Those
done
are-
that.
yeah.
And I'm just literally kickstarted off the AWE
Yeah, that's
expansion. So I'm like, and I'm like, yeah, loving it. And I'm genuinely, like, I know we talked about this anyway, but I can't believe how long Remedy have been like you trying to get this connected universe together. Like, I properly delved into it all after going down a mini rabbit hole. So I was like, I'm sure I know that character. You know, when you read in some of the reports, I'm like, I know this. Like, I know this from somewhere. Like, how the hell do I know that? Is it from Alan Wake? It must be from Alan Wake. And I reading through some of the reports, and then I was like, I'm going to have to Google it. And I Googled it. I was like, holy shit, yeah. And it's like the band that you listen to during the Ashtray Maze when you're doing it. It's, I can't remember the name of it now. It's like the Odin Brothers or something like that. And the Odin Brothers are the two brothers that play a massive part in Alan Wake. You have like Odin and Thor that come through. They're characters in in Alan Wake, and it's a nice little touch when you're playing the sort of arcade game that came on Xbox Live from the store years back, called American Nightmare. If you play through to the end of American Nightmare, and apparently if you reverse the song, it says, all this will happen again in a town called Ordinary.
Oh, right. Wow.
And obviously that's the town that Jesse and Dylan were from.
Yes.
So
you find that early on. That's not a spoiler.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that's literally part of the intro. Like the guy, when Jesse's getting her psychiatric reports coming through, and she's saying, oh yeah, about this poet. And they're saying there is no poet, but there's a filmmaker called like Thomas Vane or something like that. He is a huge part of Alan Wake that comes in. So you don't know if Alan Wake created that character or if that character created Alan Wake. In order for it to go through, it's all very mind bending, and I don't have like an hour and a half to go into how it all works out. But you can literally lose an entire evening just reading through it all and going, holy shit, yeah, wow, that's incredible. Like, and how you never clocked onto certain things that go through. But yeah, so fell in love with that. And then I was like,
it is one of those games where you've got to read everything. So there's lots of little interactive that you'll pick up, and like clipboards or little USB pen or videos. And if you don't read them, you're losing half of the backstory, and it's really, really adds to it. And plus the Threshold Kids videos, how amazing are those?
Yes.
Just the freakiest creep. They're just these, go on YouTube and search Control Threshold Kids, and they're these really creepy puppets that they use to try and teach you about the what's going on in the world, in the Control world, and they are amazing. Just so disturbing. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so I was like, you know what, done that. I was chatting away to one of the lads, and I was like, shit, I've activated the Game Pass as well. And when I was having a look on my phone, because I was talking about like Game Pass to one of the lads in work, and I was like, I can literally like cloud stream games from like a fucking Series X onto my phone now and play it if I really wanted to. And he was like, what? So I was like, look like this. So I booted up the Game Pass on there, and I started scrolling through what was on it, and I seen the game that I was toying between ages ago, that's Solasta, which is like the D&D Baldur's Gate type of game, like Divinity, like proper CRPG. That was on there, and I was like, ooh, uh-oh. And I was like, no, I'll show him like Forza and stuff, because I wanted to see like, you know, Sea of Thieves and Forza and like all the stuff that will make you go, oh, wow. Not a D&D game that looks like it was made like in the early 2000s.
Okay.
So I'm like, look, this is what you can do to it. And the cloud service is amazing on it. It works so well. and it's only in a beta stage at the minute, so it's not even full release. So I was expecting like loads of screen tear and a lag and stuff like that, and it just works perfect when you come through. But you've also got the option of installing stuff onto your hard drive if you're playing it on PC as well. So that's what it does with Solasta. You can't cloud stream Solasta. It has to be an install. So I was like, yeah, I'll install that while I like play through Control. So as that was literally doing the Foundation expansion, I was downloading Solasta to my laptop. And I started playing Solasta, and yeah, I can see me just losing so much of my life in Solasta. It's really, really good. It looks cheap, and it sounds
like you were building up to something.
cheap.
Then it's just like really good.
Yeah, no, because I want to say it's amazing, but
Okay.
it's genuinely, it's for people who play D&D like us through our campaign and stuff. It's like when people are like, oh, Baldur's Gate, it's a Dungeons and Dragons universe. It is, yeah, and it's great. And you play through the same as Divinity. You can go through, and it's all turn based, and you've got the same sort of spells and stuff. But Solasta is literally, you go through your character creation like you go through your character creation on D&D Beyond.
Okay.
So you go through and you choose like the spell you're going to have. You choose what your stat points are going to be. And that goes through. Every time you do a conversation, do you want to persuade them? Do a persuasion check. You want to intimidate them? Do an intimidation check. And the way that you set up your characters depends on how they interact with people. So, you've got like lawful good, lawful neutral, chaotic evil, chaotic good, all that sort of stuff. All of that takes like a huge part of the actual game. So it's done so well. It's done really well. Like I can see when it pops up in the bottom, like, who do you want to talk in this conversation? And you see like some of your choices. I'm like, oh, how am I going to play this? Good cop, bad cop. Like, oh, what are you going to do? And it's even just from the first two conversations, I was like, right, this is probably going to massively affect how I'm going to do it. So you've got to really think as you play through, but it's a really, really fantastic game. Not for everyone at all, by any means, but it looks quite dated, but it plays beautifully. So if you've got Game Pass, wholeheartedly recommend giving it a go. It's on Steam at the minute on sale for 20 quid. So if you haven't and you've got a spare 20 quid to think, yeah, I do like me some D&D, definitely worth a shot.
Okay.
Definitely worth a shot. But yeah, so I've got Forza Horizon 4, and I've never played one before, and I was like really enjoying that. And then as I went to quit out to go into something else, literally next week Forza 5 comes onto it, like Forza Horizon 5. I'm like, oh, well, there's no point in me getting involved in that one then, because I'll be starting playing Forza 5 soon.
Well, you could, because then you can get the Lego DLC.
And well, that's the only thing with the Game Pass one. It's only the standard edition of of Forza 5, Forza Horizon 4. You've got to actually get buy the DLC separately. And I've noticed that with a couple of the things, unless it says this is the ultimate edition of that, it'll be like, hey, here's the game, but if you want to have this, you got to download the DLC for it. The same like Doom Eternal. You can play through Doom Eternal, but you've got to download the DLC and pay for the DLC.
Okay.
In terms of that, so it's just like a nice way. But if you enjoy it, you also get the option to buy the game outright. Just so you don't lose it, because Xbox have this thing where you can get attached to a game on it, and then like, surprise, it's gone off the Game Pass now. I'm like, oh, shit. So I keep on going, because like Octopath Traveler's on there, and I started playing it on the Switch, and then I lent it to someone. I have no idea who I lent it to, and because of that, I obviously can't get it back. I think it was someone in work before we started making all the cuts. So I'm like, yeah, that's gone now, but it's on Xbox Game Pass. So I'm like, ooh, I'll probably start playing it. And like, but if they take it off, am I going to be like 90 odd hours into it? And then like, surprise, that's disappeared now. I'm like, God damn it. So it's swings and roundabouts how I'm going to play it. Not quite sure yet. But either way, yeah, I think if this is the enjoyment I'm getting from the Game Pass now,
yeah,
I don't even know if I need per se a Series X, because the games that I'd want to play are the ones that are exclusive to Microsoft, and they're the ones that are day one exclusives on fucking Game Pass. So I'm like, I might as well just keep this. And like, even though I was doing the performance checks for the system requirements for Forza Horizon 4, because it was like, we don't know what your system is, so do you want to do like a benchmark, or do you just want to go for medium? And I was like, well, I'll benchmark it. And it was like, have it on Ultra. And I was like, I fucking will. And it looks stunning, even for a game in 2018. It's amazing. But you can use mods on the Game Pass games that you install to your hard drive.
All right, okay.
So that's the other thing. I was like, really, you can do that? And I was reading about it, and I was like, oh yeah. So I'm gonna have to do like certain games that I had a mild interest in. That I'm now like, yeah, go on, I'll mod that and play that. So I can see me just losing myself in that. And then if I do need to get a console, I'll probably wait for when Shenmue 4 gets announced, and then I'll buy the console that's going on.
Okay, because that was definitely, at least with me, that was something that nudged me towards getting a PlayStation.
Yeah, it was what started me getting on the Xbox originally, is when Shenmue 2X came out.
Of course it was.
And then they were like, hey, Shenmue 3 is out on the PlayStation. And I'm like, yeah, go on, and I'll stick with that. Let's do that. But the good thing with Shenmue 2X is, obviously, that came with Shenmue the movie.
Okay. I love your attempt at a segue here. I'm just going to randomly mention Shenmue, even though it's only loosely connected to this.
It was lovingly created, and I wasn't going to go into it, but then I'm like, you know what, fuck it, we're talking about Shenmue anyway, so let's just deep dive. So Shenmue 2X came with Shenmue the movie, but Shenmue the movie was just cutscenes from Shenmue 1.
Yeah.
Played all the way through, which for fans of the game was just awesome to have like a recap of what was happening for like, a good 90 minutes session of Shenmue. But for people who weren't massively into the cheese aspect and never played it, were like, how am I going to get my fix? What I'll do is I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up in the year 2022 and then I can watch Shenmue the anime. Yeah, because we've had the trailer, Dan. We have had the trailer, the first trailer, which shows it, and it is freaking mind-blowing. It's amazing. Like, I didn't expect it to be this good looking.
No, I agree, because it's a co-production between Crunchyroll and who else is it? I don't like the silence. You should know. You should know everything about this, Reg.
I should know, to be fair, but I genuinely can't remember.
Okay, I'm gonna have to
it was just what was going in it. So it was not that.
Adult Swim.
That's it.
Yeah. So it's two Western companies. Now, obviously, it's got a big sort of input from Ryo Hazuki, who is the creator of Shenmue, along with many other awesome games. I'm playing Yakuza Kiwami 2 at the minute, and you can play Virtua Fighter in the arcade, which is great. That was one of his.
You can, and it definitely is.
The origin of Shenmue, in fact. Virtua Fighter RPG is what turned into Shenmue.
You're very correct, on the Sega Saturn.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was so Crunchyroll, who are like sort of the biggest, them and Funimation, or I think they might even be the same company now, are like the biggest anime streamers in this sort of side of the world. So it could have been, I guess, a little bit like, I don't know, the quality might not quite have been there because of who were making it. But it seems like they are. I mean, Crunchyroll have actually got quite a few Crunchyroll originals that they've released over the last couple of years. And having a look into some of them, people seem to love them. The quality of them is as good as some of the stuff that's coming from Japan. So yeah, I was hoping this was going to look good. And now the trailer's dropped. It just looks amazing.
The thing that blew me away with this, is the fact that the animation looks great. It genuinely does. I was torn between how bad it's going to look, because obviously it's made for the fans more than anything, I think, this, but at the same time it's going to be far more accessible than anything else that Shenmue has done. So it's hopefully bringing a new breed of people that'll be massively into it. But yeah, god damn. I didn't realise, well, actually, it's the One Punch Man director, and who's working alongside Ryo Hazuki.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Who's teaming up to do it. But they show tidbits. They don't show, they don't let you hear the actual the voices that go over it, because people are like, "Oh, is Corey Marshall going to be Ryo Hazuki in the English version? Like, who's going to be doing it? What's happening?" You're not 100% certain. I mean, it's got to be. Even the fact when the trailer released, the first thing that people jumped on was Corey's Twitter account, and he just had eyeballs and laughing emojis and stuff that come through. So like he has to be it.
Yeah,
it genuinely has to be. Like Shenmue sounds really like it is her when she's talking. So if they've got the English version of her, then surely they've got to use the English versions of the cast that dubbed it. It makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but the thing that I loved, and I started spouting off to you, was the scenes they were showing. Like, even though there's only 13 episodes of this, which is going to tackle like all of Shenmue 1 and part of Shenmue 2, right, for season 1, 13 episodes. I was like, that's a lot to cram in just 13 episodes of only like half-hour episodes and stuff. But then, admittedly, with Shenmue, there is a lot of nothing that happens.
Very true. It is just
so you
walk. Yeah, you need to go and talk to this guy. This guy says, "All right, go and talk to the guy at the ramen shop." All right, you go to the ramen shop. Oh, you really should speak to the guy at the jacket shop. Yeah, okay, the guy at the jacket shop. If you can go and get me this letter from this other guy and take it round to this person. It's lots of that, and that does not equal an exciting cartoon.
No, not in the slightest. But it does show you the like flashbacks that are coming through, so you'll actually see him at the karate event, where hopefully that's where he got his infamous plaster from.
Yeah.
We'll get to see the origin story of that, which is awesome. They're showing you the Ryo's the Hazuki sword with the hilt that comes through. So like the puzzle from the game, which
all the key moments are definitely there.
Which is awesome, yeah. He's actually fighting sailors, which is coming through. So hopefully there's going to be at least one episode where all he does is walk around like bars and around Abuita looking for some sailors, asking where they hang out. You do get to see a snippet of the fight scene where it's like fully QTE based, but it's in the bar. Where he fights. I think the guy's called Jones. When he's like, "Milk's perfect for a schoolboy," I'd say, the bartender, and then you have the fight with the QTE. Shows you a snippet of that. Shows you a snippet of Nozomi on the back of the motorbike. Yeah. So you're going to have that scene. Shows you fucking 70-man battle, Dan.
Yeah, and Chai as well.
Just with the Mad Angels Chai. But the 70-man battle, like, I was like, are they going to do that, or are they just going to like have him go in to go see Terry and have to fight off like a couple of dudes? But the way that it's approaching it, I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, it's going to be full on, Dan. It's going to be a geek explosion right in my pants. I'm very excited about this. I can't wait. And just Guizhang as well in the harbour and stuff, like the fights and stuff that come through just look glorious. Like, they've genuinely taken the moveset and done it complete justice. Like, I'm so excited, Dan.
Absolutely.
So excited. So I cannot wait for this. But on the same note, the day I sent you the trailer for this, you were like, "Oh, I thought you were going to send me the Shenmue one," because originally I sent you the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City trailer.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you think of this then?
See, I mean, I'm the wrong person to ask because I have very little interest in any of that.
Yeah, I also sent it to Mike in work, and I was like, "Oh, what do you reckon to this?" And he's like, "Never really played him, to be honest." And I was like, "For fuck's sake! Like, how does no one I hang around with play fucking Resident Evil?"
Yeah,
I'm like, this is just ridiculous.
I've played enough of them, but to know the gist of it all. But the films never interested me anyway. I know they're not the same thing, but the people either they are two separate things, aren't they? Let's face it. Those films are not Resident Evil that the games were or are. But people seem to really love the films for some strange reason. So yeah, you've either got your people who are really excited about it because it is now a bit more of an accurate version of the game in movie form, and then you've got the people who just want more Resident Evil movies. I'm not really either of them.
Yeah, fair enough.
I know you're of the camp where you want to see a decent faithful retelling of the game story, but you want to see it done well. The problem is this seems to be half of that. This seems to be a little bit of an more accurate representation of what the game is, but not particularly done very well by the looks of the trailer and the casting and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so we've gone over the casting numerous times, so I'm going to just go right over that to begin with. Right, that's fine. This trailer had me have little smiles that grew quite big, and then just lots of groans that come through. So this is the American trailer, right? This is the one that, for some reason, they had to put on "Nothing Compares to You." I think it was the song, or whatever the fuck the song was. I can't remember. It just annoyed me that.
Oh
that
no,
much.
it was "What's Going On."
What's Going On? That's it. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that
Blondes. Mm-hmm.
That version was just awful. I hate the fact that these start carrying on the tradition of just slowing down songs and just like making them try to be creepy or slow or dramatic and stuff like that. It ruins most of the theming that goes towards it. Mm-hmm. But this has me really conflicted. So they've made Leon Kennedy look like he wants to be a cosplay version of Leon Kennedy.
Okay.
Right, let's just throw that out there straight away. He's got the same fucking haircut, the outfit, everything, blah, 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 goes through. The thing I love about it is it's his first day, right? Yes, because that's what it actually is. It's his first day, so brilliant. They're keeping his story perfect in that sort of aspect that comes through. Claire Redfield, they put this red coat on, you're now Claire Redfield. Like, they show you a little clip where she puts her hair in a ponytail, and then the rest of the film looks like she's just got her normal long flowing hair. That could be anyone in a red coat. Literally the thing that signifies Claire Redfield mainly is you notice the coat with the pigtail. And you're like, well, the ponytail, sorry, not pigtails, the ponytail. And you're like, oh shit, that's Claire Redfield. If you see from the back, you know who it is straight away. That I'd have no idea at all. And her story is messed up. So she isn't coming to Raccoon City to find out the whereabouts of her brother Chris. She's coming to fucking blow the whistle on Umbrella Company, and like that's really weird. That she doesn't know about that until she's in Raccoon City. So I don't get that. The thing I did like about that mini intro sequence was, apart from the fact that she's in the oil tanker when she's first going to Raccoon City, when you see the bit when it goes into the RPD. And it just blows up outside the thing. They've kept that bit where it blocks off part of the entrance to Raccoon City so people can't get in sort of out. Like, they've kept that bit in, even though the CGI looks awful, they've kept it.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm happy with that. Like, the mansion, Spencer Mansion, looks great. It really does look great. The mansion, though. Like, it still annoys me the fact they haven't got Barry Burton in it, seeing as he plays a huge part in Resident Evil 1. Like, not even just as a fan favourite, but he is genuinely the reason why most of the shit goes down, because he's easily played. So it's a bit weird how they're going to swap him over with somebody else. Like, I don't quite get what's going on with that one. The fact that Richard Akins actually enters with them is weird. Like, with you, that means nothing. But there's a guy in the mansion already who you need to save, and he is Richard Aiken. Okay. And in this, he actually enters with the team already, and you're like, what? So that's really weird. So I'm thinking, are you going to get to see the giant snake now? Because that was the entrant part to the giant huge snake, was you needed to find some serum because he was infected by the venom from the huge snake. So I'm like, that's interesting. So yeah, I want to know what's going on with that one. They kept little Easter eggs, which I did love. Like, when you find him, if you save him, you get rewarded with his shotgun. That's like a special, like, I think it was like an assault shotgun, or there was something special, like it held certain like more shells. I think it was an assault shotgun. And in the trailer, he's using that certain shotgun compared to everyone else using their guns. He's using that typical one. So I'm like, nice. So I like the fact they've kept that. I like the look of the hallway. This is going to sound ridiculous, and I know it does, when I'm like, ooh, look at that hallway. But the hallway for the mansion, when they first get into it, when you look, it looks smaller, like a lot smaller than what I pictured in my head when you first thought you're going to see it. But it's lovingly recreated, apart from the hidden door behind the big picture. Apart from that bit, which there may be, you never know. You'd never know that might happen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, hopefully that does. But the look and the feel of the mansion looks great. Thing I didn't like about it was the fact that they're going to incorporate part of Resident Evil 2 where the helicopter goes into the police station and they're putting it into the mansion instead.
Okay. And
like, why? There's no reason to flip that. That's just weird. I love the fact that they've got the lighter for Chris Redfield, and he actually uses the lighter in the trailer to have a little like poke around with stuff. Stupid little touch, I know it is, but Chris was also, they used to get like, not shouted at, but you used to always get told, back in the smoking and the cigarettes, and he used to play with his lighter and like quite a bit and stuff like that. So he always had it on him, whereas Jill never did. So keeping that was a nice little touch, quite like that. And the really bizarre one is did you ever play Code Veronica on the Dreamcast?
Was the one of the only early ones I did play, yeah. Right.
So do you remember the Ashford twins in that? Like the little boy who wanted to be the girl and stuff?
No, I can't remember much about it.
Right. Okay. So there's a bit in the trailer where Chris is going over like a desk and he finds like a film reel, and he knocks it aside and it's got the Ashford twins on it, and then you actually see a bit, very quick couple of milliseconds of a boy pulling like the wings of a butterfly or like a moth, and I'm like, dragonfly even, sorry. He's pulling it off and I'm like, holy shit, that was from Code Veronica. Oh my god, that is the Ashford. Amazing. So it's good that they've kept that, but I don't understand why they've done that, unless that's just hey, look, I do know there's other games out there apart from 1, 2, and 3. That's a weird little nod. But the thing that did make me do a little proper chuckle and smile is they've kept the very first zombie that you see. So in Resident Evil 1, when you first come out of the hallway, you go in the first door on the left, you go through the dining room, and then you take the door on the right-hand side by the clock. And as you first go into that, if you look left, there's a couch, and behind that couch is a zombie munching on someone, and it's the very first time you ever see a zombie in the game. And he does the turn, and he looks, and they've kept that zombie looking like that zombie. And he does the look and everything. And I'm like, you know what? He looks different than the other zombies. I love that. I love the fact that they've kept that zombie, that little like, oh, here you go, lads.
Okay.
I'm like,
so there's enough that you've seen where it's clear that whoever's directing it or whatever is trying, yeah?
He is trying, but I've got no hope it's going to be good. But it's got enough moments in there that make me go,
yeah.
You know what?
But that's all it needs. It needs enough of those to make fans go, all right, yeah, I need to see this.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting one. I'll be honest with you. So hopefully it will be great. Like I said, I think it'll be mediocre at best.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact it just looked like a huge, like, even when you watch the breakdown of the trailer with the director, and he's like, yeah, you get like a really good Assault on Precinct 13 feel with the film. I'm like, oh, so it's going to be an action film then. So there's going to be a huge point. Probably that's going to be the RPD part of the Raccoon Police Department where that happens. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, they've kept quite a few, like we talked when we've seen the original sort of couple of pictures and stuff like that. We've seen like Lisa Trevorrow and that sort of stuff. Looks really nice. William Birkin looks awesome. But the dog, the zombie dog, doesn't look great at all. And the fact that he shows up in the car park to begin with instead of the actual, like, either outside the mansion when you go running in like the intro, or through the window of the actual mansion. They put it through the window of a car door instead. I'm like, why? Like, it's just things confused when he wants to do so many like nods to the fans, but like, oh look, we kept that moment in. Oh, we kept that moment in. Why do twist one of the biggest moments that people remember from Resident Evil and put it in a tiny window with Police Chief Irons instead of the window with Jill or Chris. It's weird. Very weird. But
yeah, I guess it's going to be strange how they keep certain things and just don't bother with others and change others.
Yeah, so but that's everything you see from the American version of the trailer. It's just literally all sort of action-packed, going through tiny little snippets of stuff. And then you're like, oh, have you seen this one? I was like, oh, there's 2 trailers. And then I watched the second trailer, and it's massively different in tone. And that's what genuinely should have...
as well, though.
Yeah, and that's one that should have been shown because it plays the story part of it. So you actually get to understand more what's going on, and less spoilers.
That one is definitely more for fans. You know, the other one seems to be, this is what a standard trailer for a standard action movie looks like. So people who are looking for a film to go and see, this is for them. So at least then the international version does seem to be geared a little bit more into, you know, it's a bit more coherent in that it shows a bit more of the progression of the story, and has a bit more of the tone of the game. So it was probably more for the gamers.
It's just mad because, like, when you look at them on YouTube, the first trailer, the American one, has over 5 million views now. You have a look at the international one, there's not even 1 million views on it yet.
Jeez.
Like, it's nowhere near. So people have gone, oh my God, and not even thought, oh, I'll have a look to see what else there is, like, on the side, when it's like, have a look at this one. Like, nah, I'm good. So I hope it just hasn't hurt more than it's intrigued.
Yeah,
that's the issue. Because I think if we weren't podding, I probably wouldn't have looked at the second trailer.
Okay.
Either. After seeing the first one, I was like, oh, yeah, I'll probably wait. I mean, admittedly, you will be the only person that hopefully will come to the pictures to see it with me.
Yeah, I'll go and see anything.
So, yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying to Mike and work. I was like, thankfully, I know that Dan will come to the pictures. He's like, do you reckon? I was like, he went to see Snake Eyes. If he's gone to see Snake Eyes, he will go to watch fucking Resident Evil with me. So that was my level, and he was like, "Yep, fair enough." So yeah, it's interesting, but yeah, I don't know if it's going to be great, but I'm there for it. So we'll see.
Okay,
we'll see, Dan.
Yeah, I went to see Valerian at the cinema. I mean, you know, I'll literally go and see anything if it just gives me an afternoon out.
Have you been to see Bond yet?
I did. Yep, really good. I liked it. The certain things, it was one of those, the more I started to analyse it in my head, the more problems I found in it. But in terms of, did I enjoy it? Just, 2.5 hours sat in the cinema. I did, really did.
Fair enough. I also watched I don't know if it's on HBO Max, so I'm probably going to be shouted at for this. I've seen Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember whether it's out yet.
It's not out over here yet.
Okay.
I don't think.
Fair
but it's out in America, where I flew to watch it.
Right.
Will that help?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's out in on HBO Max or anything like that sort of stuff.
No. I don't think it is.
Let's see.
It's fine. You went on the high seas.
Oh yeah,
you watched it while you were in international waters.
It will be on Netflix or Amazon Prime. HBO Max. So it will be on HBO Max apparently.
Okay. All right.
So that's fine. So that's where I watched it. I watched it on HBO on HBO Max.
Okay. And give it out of 10.
3.
Yeah, that's what I'd have expected.
4 at a push.
Okay.
It's worth the end credit scene.
Okay.
That's the only thing that made me want to watch it.
It's absolutely what I'd heard. I've not heard what it is, but I've heard exactly that.
Okay. Yeah. I heard what it was before I watched it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, really? Right, okay, I want to know if there's anything else in it. So I went and watched it, and there's not at all, apart from I was showing one of the lads it works. He was like, oh yeah, I really want to watch it. I didn't mind the first one at all. And he was like, I heard the CGI is well better in this one. And I was like, look at this.
Yeah. No.
And just showing him a scene, and he was like, what's that? And I was like, yeah, that's Venom and Tom Hardy. And he's like, wow. I was like, yep, that's how good it looks all the way through, mate. He was like, yeah, I'll pass on that. And I'm like, just watch the end credits scene. And he was like, all right, send me your username and password for HBO Max, and then I'll watch it. So I WhatsApped him the link to my HBO Max.
Okay, yeah. You still need to keep covering yourself, Reg. It's fine.
And then we watched it. So yeah, it's not great at all. Unlike Bond, which apparently then is good.
Yeah, it is well worth seeing. Like in terms of the ones I liked Casino Royale. I liked Spectre, and I like this one. Couldn't stand Quantum of Solace, and Skyfall was overrated. So take my advice as you will, based on which ones you thought were really good, I guess. But it was a really, I don't know, it's one of those, without spoiling things, it's hard to say certain things, but it was done well. It had the story made enough sense that the ending paid off well, and yeah, it was very long. Like when I went in and I had to look at what time I'd be home, I was like, wow, okay, I'm going to be in here for like 3.25 hours, like including the trailers. But it doesn't ever get too dull and boring. But yeah, well done. I thought well worth seeing if you want to just, well, if you've got 3 hours spare, which you probably haven't, right, Reg?
Not yet. I am tempted to. My dad keeps on telling me that people that he knows are going to see it.
Okay.
So I think that's his hint of.
All right. So there you go. Yeah, it's a nice,
can you take me to go see it?
Even
and I'll be
with
like,
your dad.
Yeah, go on then.
Perfect.
So at some point I will do that. So, but we'll see. While we are on the subject of things that are out and sequels and stuff like that, just before we finish. So the Child's Play Chucky TV series is now out in America. Right. The first episode, and apparently it's great. So yeah, apparently I was having a read of some of the stuff. And I'm actually quite excited for it now. Apparently, it translates the formula very, very well, and apparently it brings it up to what the film should have done. I was like, oh, nice. And apparently, lots of people are surprised with like how good the series is. So, yeah, I'm slightly hoping that's going to be great when it does finally make its way over here. So we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah, I've not seen who's picked that up, but yeah, it's just not anything I'm interested in. Never been interested in the Chucky films.
No, fair enough. And just have you seen so at the moment Kotaku is like the gaming website. Is it gone into like a shit ton of trouble at the moment? Remind me what it was for. I saw it was some article they put up, wasn't it? Yeah, so they put up an article that Metroid Dread has just come out recently. Yes.
Oh, that's it. And they encourage people to pirate it.
It is unbelievable, right? So, yes, I'm all for emulation, and I know I've just said I watch Venom, but, you know, we always said I had no fucking interest in that, and that's...
They were never getting your money anyway.
No, and I know that's not the point.
Yes, NerdOD does not endorse that type of behaviour.
It does not, and I will never do it again. It was just one of those. I just had to, for some unknown reason. But yeah, so Metroid Dread has literally came out about a week ago.
Yeah.
And someone who's already made a Switch emulator has managed to rip the dump files, stick them onto some files on their PC, mod it into 4K. And then they've gone whoops and slipped it online instead of putting it literally just for themselves to play. And while that's fine, because people who obviously like, it's a small niche market who like Metroid anyway. Okay. So, you know, for people
and with this being a 2D, return to Metroid, I was going to say Metroidvania, but it's Metroid.
No, it is Metroid. Yeah.
Everyone describes it as it's not for everyone, that is it?
It's not. So classic. So usually the people who would want to play it will buy it because they're excited to be able to play it. But then you got the likes of Kotaku who've gone like, if you want the definitive edition of it, just fucking download the pirated version they give you the link to the actual place to download it from.
It's strange, isn't it? It's
then
written
explain how to do it.
Yeah, it's written in a way of like, hey, isn't it interesting that they've worked out how to do this and look how well it plays? But
Yeah.
if it had just been that, like commenting on like this has happened and this is what people are doing now, I'm sure Nintendo will deal with it in the way they need to. But it's not just that. It's then the first paragraph was, or it is, I'm not sure whether it's still there now, is like, yeah, we don't encourage you to do this, but you know, if you want to go to this website and download it and not buy this game, it's like really badly written. Whoever wrote it, I'm sure they've not got a job anymore.
No, it's unbelievable, how bad that's happened. Oh my god, there's another anthology season of Walking Dead coming out. Sorry, literally just as we were going through, I was like, what? But yeah, so I genuinely can't believe that such a huge gaming sort of internet phenomenon like Kotaku has come out and just blatantly gone, go on guys, do it. And it's just ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. And yeah, don't go out and do that. If you want to play Metroid, and just go out and buy it, please. Because at the end of the day, they do need your money. If you want more Metroid games, you need to do it. And while emulation can be fun, use it for the older games that you can't play anymore and that you can't buy anymore. Go do it on there, not for the latest stuff. And make sure you own the game before you play it.
Exactly. We've talked about me having my emulators on my tablet, but it's things like SNES games that I own and Game Boy Advance games that I own and GameCube games that I own, all this sort of stuff. So it's that giving yourself an opportunity to play it on a more convenient system, I totally understand, but not when it's something that is still currently widely available for sale.
Yeah 100%.
Anywho, right, I think that is our time, Reg. It's worth pointing out to people as well, though, that I don't know whether we've mentioned that we have now started a new podcast. Every Monday, you will get a nice, short little 30 to 40 minute episode of something we like to call Coasting, which is essentially a theme park podcast. So we talk a lot about theme parks on this show, so you should be happy if you're not interested in that we've now sort of sectioned that off as its own podcast.
We have.
Yeah.
And for the people... Yeah, and for the people that are like, you already talk about it anyway. We talk about different things on this podcast.
We do.
It's not just recycled material, mainly because we don't have a script or anything, so we can never remember what we say in the first place anyway. But that's not the point.
Exactly.
This is all specialised, and just each episode is completely different. Yeah, so we hope you enjoy
it. We've got 2 episodes up so far, and genuinely, I can always tell when I'm editing a video or audio or whatnot, whether how much I'm enjoying something, and I really like it, and I think people will too. Comes across really sort of good, concise, doesn't overstay its welcome like this show might do sometimes. So yeah, go and subscribe to that. We're on all the usual things. Just search for Coasting. It's also on YouTube and Facebook on our NerdOD page on Facebook and the Nod Network page on YouTube. So please go and listen to that. And we are very shortly returning. We are now 2 episodes into recording. We're back to our D&D campaign, the Blade Flow Chronicles. So that's going to be coming back soon. I'm just banking a few episodes so we don't, end up with a big gap again.
Yeah.
So, but
we don't want that.
Right. But that is all the housekeeping I have. We should have done that at the beginning, really, but never mind, eh?
Well, we can always just cut copy. Nah.
Stop giving me work.
Why do that? Why do that when people who like the start of the show will finish at the end of the show?
Precisely. I don't think that makes sense. But okay, why not? Right. Anyway, thank you, Reg, for giving me your time. And thank you for all the people at home for listening.
Aye, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
See you next week. Bye.
Toodles.